Hi, thanks for tuning into another episode of the Hold On to Your Heart Project podcast. I'm your host, Jackie, and today I'll be talking with Gavin. He grew up with an absence of a father and parental guidance in his life, and he is now about to be a father himself. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Gavin, hello.
Hi,
Welcome
Jackie.
to the Hold On to Your Heart Project podcast. I am honestly thrilled that you're here with us tonight, with me, to have a conversation. I've done a brief introduction on you, but maybe you could start by just telling us a little bit about yourself. Where you're from, who you are, what you do.
Sure. That's the one thing I'm terrible at, is talking about myself. I'm a small town kid that grew up in this area. Tried to wander away to bigger centers, spent some time in the Okanagan, where I pursued kind of my ambitions to be an entrepreneur in various ways. Just kind of doing my own thing for a lot of years, and ultimately landed back here in Cranbrook. And I kind of settled in, I think, and started a career in real estate, and I've gotten married and expecting a child now. So
Congratulations.
it's been a long path to where I am now, but that's me.
How long had it been since you, from when you came to Cranbrook, had you been here? How long did you take away?
I left the area it was about 8 years I was gone.
Yeah.
And never thought I would come back. So it was a bit strange when I ended up back in this area.
Why did you think that you would never come back to home?
Because when I left, that was the reason, was to leave and to not want to be in the area.
There's nothing that really stood out about this area that you thought, I'm not coming back to, but just the mere fact of kind of breaking away from it?
Yeah, I had a lot of I've always had ambitions to try things, and then being in the area in smaller towns and things, I just felt like whatever it is I was thinking I wanted to try to do, there wasn't going to be opportunity. So I guess I thought that I would find that somewhere else.
But here you are, real estate agent and managing broker.
That's right.
Aren't you? Yeah.
Well, it's funny that I just say about the opportunity, because I come back here and actually have found good opportunities and found some successes. So I was maybe being a bit ignorant, basing that on a geographical location. So it's worked out well.
How do you enjoy your profession? That's how we know each other, is through work.
Right.
How do you enjoy the industry?
I've always, I don't know, been interested in real estate for some reason, properties and houses and structures. I don't know why. I remember staying up late as a teenager watching infomercials for the how to invest in real estate, and they try to get you to call in with your credit card and order the course, which I did at one point. But at no point did I think to pursue that as a career for some reason. And so I just wish I actually would have got into it earlier.
Yeah.
But I'm happy with it, and I think it suits me well, and I like helping people, so it's been good.
Before we really get rolling, what would you say is your the biggest challenge of your profession, or for you personally in your profession?
Self-motivation, right? It's the kind of work where you have to get up and do it. No one's going to force you to do it, and if you don't do anything, nothing happens. And I am ambitious enough, but the struggle for me sometimes is caring enough about myself to keep motivated to keep doing it. Sometimes I settle, or I think I've done good enough, and I don't need more. I don't deserve more, or whatever. And I kind of revert back to a simpler me. So just that motivation part to keep pushing forward and keep the ball in play can be challenging sometimes.
That makes sense. I'd like to expand on this the simpler you part. But maybe before I do that, yeah, I'll just say, you know, I've had the pleasure of getting to know you over the last year and a bit. And, you know, professionally for me, coming into a new career, you've always been like a huge staple in, I feel like, my success and my, you know, you really helped me early on. Yeah, overcome some of my own limiting beliefs about, you know, you caught me in the hallway one day and you're like, you know, you hit me straight with the, what are you doing? And what are you doing? And I was, you know, kind of facilitating this idea that I think you've seen past all the bullshit. And I kind of just thought in that moment, I think it was the first time that really dawned on me that, you know, people don't know that unless they know that. You know, like you knew something on a deeper level than a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think I just kind of felt a lot of trust for you from that because, like, you know, you were willing to say something that was probably uncomfortable to say, what are you doing and why are you doing that? You know? So for me, it was just like, it was like a really big, you know, it was kind of a make or break time in my life, I think, in a lot of ways. And you made it so it was a make. And I really appreciate you for that. I appreciate who you are in the community. And I feel like, you know, you are good at what you do. And you really care about just the people and you care about the community. And I think it's fascinating. When I brought this project to you, I was feeling a little like, oh, what's Gavin going to think about this, you know? And you just like feel like you've been really supportive, hands-on. Like, obviously, you're here tonight doing this, and yeah, you've just you've showed up every step of the way, and I really appreciate that. And I think the community that we're creating really appreciates that. And I know you made mention of giving a donation, and so like that's huge and very appreciated. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad that my blunt questions to you back then were a productive exercise to go through, and that they went in that direction. And you know, those situations are strange. I don't know what caused me to inquire with you about what you were doing at that time. And you know, I just think it's been great that you've stayed the course for what you're trying to accomplish, and you know, I think got past the point of no return. So I'm happy to be supportive, and you know, at work and with this project, which is, you know, you've come a long way since you came into my office and pitched the idea to see what I thought. So.
And as of you kind of in your business development and your career development it's been really substantial and so nice to see. And I feel like really honored and glad to be able to work with you and have you kind of, you know, the person to call in that professional side of things and in this as well.
Sure.
So I guess we'll hold on to your heart project. When I say hold on to your heart, what does the phrase symbolize or mean to you? What do you think of?
It's such an interesting phrase because when you say it or you hear it, it makes you kind of think about what does that mean. And I think what I think the most about when I think about that is not letting go of who I know I am and who I want to be and the life that I want to have, and being aware of scenarios when you start to feel like you might let go or you know, just let yourself go down the path of least resistance and
that simpler self.
Yeah, but you have to hold on if you know, if you want more or there's something inside you that you need to hold on to and hold on tight so you can get there instead of just letting go. So the phrase, that's kind of what I think of with that phrase is being strong for yourself and not letting go for whatever it is that is true to you or what you believe. And that can be a struggle, and you have to hold on tighter sometimes than others. But if anything, you know, it reminds me hold on to it and not let go of it.
When you're holding on to it, what is it that you're holding on to? I guess the belief that.
Well, yeah, just to what you want your life to be, or how you want to feel, or
It's almost like the commitments. You're hanging on to the commitments.
yeah, the commitment you make, to
With
yourself. Yeah. And that can be hard sometimes, but you have to hang on, and sometimes you're the only person hanging on for that.
So if I were to ask you, has there been a time in your life where you've had to hold on to your heart? Is there something that comes to mind?
Yeah, like for me, I don't know that there probably are like individual situations, but it's more like what comes to mind for me is being in a scenario where I feel like sometimes I feel like I was born into the wrong world or something, and knowing in my heart that I'm a certain way, or I want to be a certain way, or I want to be able to interact with different kinds of people, but kind of being in this world that's not conducive to what.
How do you see the world that you've been brought into? If it feels one that shouldn't be, do you know?
Yeah. Well,
What's your world look like? Or what does that world that you think of when you think of that world not being quite right, what is that world like?
like the things that were around me, in my earlier years were, I guess like some anger and some conflict and aggression, struggle, not having a lot, maybe being like poor, and not that I thought that I was, should be something else, but I just had this like desire to help and care for people and contribute, and kind of everything around me was not conducive to being that type of person.
Well, it's hard to kind of take care of it's hard to, sounds like it might have been hard to take care of yourself at that time, and not as so much to take care of other people, like.
Well, it wasn't even, it was hard to care about myself when everything around me felt like other people not even caring about themselves or each other. So it became very hard to stay, I don't know, lighthearted or compassionate or anything. It almost just felt like it was always conflict with the people around me.
Can you paint like a picture of what it was like for you? Like, what did it look like for you? And what age are you? Or if there's conflict and violence or people not taking care of themselves?
Yeah, well, I guess, being a kid, you're kind of at the mercy of the adults that are responsible for you, or whatever. So, my mom was a single mom, I guess. I mean, there were men around at different times, and she was young when she had us, and I don't think that she really understood life. And then she had these two kids too, and so, she certainly always had us with her while she lived her life, though, which involved a lot of, she would have relationships, and fighting was a normal part of her relationships. And the people around her, she worked in a bar, and those are the type of people that would come around the house, and oftentimes you know, I'd just be in my room hiding, and there'd be, you know, adults partying and perhaps having a great time all night, or perhaps, you know, fighting or whatever. And I was always kind of just in the background. So, and I just never, I just felt like this kid who just wanted to, like, I don't know, learn and play and be peaceful. And that's not kind of the vibe that was around me.
Where was your dad at this time?
I don't know. My, at some point when I was born, there was a decision made. I have an older sibling and a sister, and her dad. It was decided, I guess, that I would be raised knowing that her dad was my dad, but that didn't last. Like, I don't know how old I was, not even a year old, I think, and my mom left, and took us and just left and went to another town, and that's all I know, really.
Left her dad, which was not really your dad. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. At the time, I was told that he was.
Right.
Yeah. So, but it didn't last long, and so she left, and then all we ever knew was that, I don't know, we were given the impression that he didn't want anything to do with us, and he never called, and he never sent birthday gifts, and so he was just this bad person. And I didn't really know him. So, shy of maybe a few months when I was first born, which obviously I don't remember. Mm-hmm. And a couple of times he did, I guess, come around, but
Do you remember?
he was always, I have a couple vague memories, yeah. So the one that stands out the most, I don't know if he picked us up or something, but he brought me and my sister to his family's, I think it was like Christmas or around Christmas, and they were gathering, and I just felt like I was just a kid in a room full of strangers. I didn't know him, and I didn't know his family, and, you know, I was being told that this is your grandma and this is your uncle, and I had no idea who those people were, and I just remember it was just horrible, and I just couldn't wait to get out of there. So anyways, he wasn't around. He wasn't around then.
Yeah, very, very few, if any, memories with him. So
Yeah.
how do you think that's impacted you overall, like growing up without a father? Can you generalize, like, could you even sum it up?
Well, I'll tell you the remainder of the story about dads, I guess. So that was the story about that dad. My mom had this drawer in her bedroom, and it was like a junk drawer, and I used to kind of like hang out in her room while she was getting ready for work. You know, she'd be doing her hair or whatever. And I'd always go through this drawer, and there was just interesting little trinkets or whatever, and some pictures and things. And I never really thought much of it. And then one day, there was a little picture in there that I'd seen before, but never thought much of it. And I just said to my mom, "Mom, who's this person in this picture?" And I just remember, like, it seemed, I don't know how long there was a pause, and she said, "There's something I should tell you."
How old are you now?
I think I was like 8 or 9. No, maybe 8, 7 or 8. And I don't remember like every detail, but she said, "That picture is your father." And I said, "No, it's not. Obviously it's not." And then so I found out, she, I guess, sat me down and tried to explain to me why the person in that picture was my father, and the person that I thought was my father was not my father.
Do you remember it? How
Yeah.
it felt and
Yeah, it was
what
horrible.
was said?
It was absolutely horrible. And I don't know why. Like, I always think, why was that so horrible?
What was
Like,
your reaction like? Like what?
I just remember feeling panic and like crying. And I remember that feeling quite well, but I don't understand why I cared so much. Or like, I feel like, I don't know if I felt deceived or I felt stupid or something. I don't know. But I do remember that, and it just felt like really fucking bad. But I don't know why.
And so even today, when you look back, you don't know why that would feel so bad.
Well, I don't know. I guess in my adult life, I think, oh yeah, because I was like,
Here's your
fucked up.
father that you don't know. It's
like a
you've been
surprise.
told something. Yes, there's.
But yeah, I mean, even at that age, I don't know. It was just a bad experience. So then, so the smoke cleared from that, and then, but I actually almost felt like later, my mom said, "Well, I'll try to find him, and maybe you can meet him."
Did you want to?
It felt like I was going to have a dad, so it was almost like when the smoke cleared from the initial like shock of whatever that was. It felt like I'm going to have a dad. That's super cool. So I did. I was excited about that. I was super uncomfortable. Like, my mom did get a hold of him, and he did come to meet me. And when he was actually pulling up the driveway, like, I was like hiding again. I'm like, oh, I don't know this person. He's supposed to be my dad.
You're so used to hiding back then. In your room,
Yeah,
right?
just hide. Just ignore the adults. Yeah, so that's how that went, and I met him, and actually our first interaction was kind of cool. He was kind of a chill guy, and we went fishing down by the creek by our house, and it seemed okay. But I think he came in from like Vancouver or something. Like, he lived a long ways away. So that first interaction was I don't know. I thought it was good, and then he left, and then from that point on we would visit. Sometimes like once a year, once every couple of years. But it just wasn't. I just felt like a kid hanging out with a stranger again when that would happen. So, I don't know. I've never felt like I had a dad. I've never called anybody dad before. So that was that. But go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, yeah. Sorry, I cut you off earlier because you had said that you were only told that your dad was your dad.
Yeah, I thought I should clarify.
Well, what's the impact of kind of growing up without a dad? Like, did you realize what the impacts were even as like a 9-year-old? Like not having that.
I mean, even now, people ask. People have talked to me about that, and my usual answer is, I mean, when you don't know any different, you don't know any different. I don't know what it's like to have a dad. Of course, I can kind of observe other people that have relationships with fathers and things and see what that looks like. But I just think that because I never really had it, I don't know the difference.
When you looked around and seen other families and other sons and dads, did you ever feel like a sadness, or like did you ever feel jealousy or?
The biggest challenge with it, I think, is, and these days things are changing in this department, I think, but, I had my mom and my sister, like women, right? and there was I didn't have anyone teaching me how to be a boy or how to be a man. And when there was a man around, they were strangers to me, and I'd be scared of them, and I didn't know how to interact with them, or maybe they were into whatever they were into, like guy things, but I didn't know anything about that stuff. So maybe they would attempt to befriend me by doing whatever, I don't know, guys do, and I just didn't know, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. So I was always, for a long time, even into my adult life, uncomfortable around men, which is hard when you're a man. It's a hard thing to navigate.
I can only imagine. Is there like stories that kind of stick out? There's that, like trying to get maybe close to these men that would want to befriend you. Is there like a certain situation or experience that you had that you could describe that?
I don't know. I mean, I just usually avoided it as best I could.
Yeah. Hiding out.
Yeah. Just hide from
How
it.
hidden are you? That was one of the questions that I wanted to ask.
Right.
Do you still hide?
Well, like when we talk about holding on to who I want to be and how I want to be, if I let go, I will hide for sure.
Yeah.
I like to hide. I like to not exist. That's easy for me. So part of the struggle for me is to not just hide.
The commitment to yourself that you make when you hold on to your heart is to not hide and to keep showing up.
Yeah, and keep trying. And I mean, it's gotten a lot easier. I really enjoy interacting with people and the world these days. And
is there a certain set of like beliefs that you gathered, whether you're clear from them now or not, about about yourself because of your experiences, like maybe more so with your dad not having that? Like, what was the belief about men that you had that was better to hide from them than to get close?
I think the impression that I had of men, and I've learned that it was influenced by the circle of people that I got that fear from, but those were the examples I had, is just that they're angry or mean or aggressive, or you can't express like a feeling because they will maybe make fun of you.
Are these even just more so some of your mom's boyfriends maybe growing up?
Yeah, and yeah, definitely like boyfriends and the types of people, their friends or my mom's other friends that were men, or just being in the environment of like bars. Spent a lot of time in and around bars.
So Gavin's in the bars at a young age, having a couple mocktails. What do you like to drink?
I remember Shirley Temples.
Oh yeah.
Sure, virgin. I think they were virgin.
Hopefully. Maraschino cherries.
Yeah, they're a good snack.
Are you good at pool? Did you learn that?
I never got good at it, but yeah, I played at a lot of pool tables. We'd always bum, it was probably quarters back then, off people kicking around, and arcade games. My mom worked in a bar and a motor inn. Like a motor inn used to be like a restaurant in a hotel and a bar. Mm-hmm. So there were nights where we would, my sister and I would have a hotel room that we could stay while my mom worked. So we used to, I don't know, observe that lifestyle, fights in the parking lot, drunk people doing what drunk people do, and yeah, it's just kind of what we did anyway.
The way it was.
Yeah.
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 When you think hindsight and look back at that now, does something come up for you about how does it feel to think about that?
I remember like being young and being in that environment, and sometimes it seemed exciting and a lot of times it seemed scary. Go hide in the room, a lot of hiding. But like, you know, at this point in life, I think I would have rather just kind of, I don't know, played sports and went to the park or something. Maybe that would have been better, I think.
That would have been nice, hey?
Yeah.
If only it was that easy.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I feel like I would have got off to a better start if I had, you know, interacted in those sort of things instead of in this world that, you know, that was around me that I never felt like I was supposed to be in.
I'm trying to put together, well, you did say you hadn't verbalized kind of hiding away from men or not
That I was scared of men.
That you're scared of men. And that might be the first time today of actually saying that. Do you want to expand on that at all?
It's
like, how does it feel to say those words?
embarrassing. I got really good at pretending like that wasn't a thing. I got really good at acting a certain way in those environments where people probably thought I was fine, but I was uncomfortable and scared a lot. I got really good at that. It almost felt normal to feel that way and be in those situations. So, you know, that's how for a long time I dealt with it. It was more of a way of existing and coping and just getting through it.
Kind of wearing a mask and just...
Yeah, like I remember, like I think back and I just had a persona that I utilized that helped get me through those times. And a lot of times it wasn't even sufficient. Like some situations I just couldn't hide in.
what situations are those?
Just like when I couldn't keep up with whatever was going on that day and the people that were around, like I just couldn't fake my way into fitting into it. And I would feel awkward, and I think I would be seen as awkward. You know, like in those younger years, you have to follow around the adults that are taking care of you, so you don't have a choice to be in those scenarios sometimes. And when you just can't find a way to morph into it, you're just kind of awkwardly there existing in it, and it's not fun.
Almost when you talk about your story, it sounds like you were faced with a lot of different, like nothing really stayed constant for you to really develop a relationship with a man. Even, you know, your real dad left, and you know, you've had those losses of the father, but no one really was ever, like you say, you never called anyone dad, and there was no real trust built with a man in those kind of really impactful years, right?
Yeah, that's, I think, accurate. There was you would call a stepdad that was around for quite some time, more in my teenage years. I had a very I don't know, strange relationship with. At times we'd have a lot of fun together, and other times were really bad.
When you say really bad, what are you alluding to?
Just like, I think that him and my mom had a like very toxic, bad relationship. You know, fighting and drinking and you know, breaking up and getting thrown out, and I think the conflict at the time was that, you know, my mother's always been my mother and I was always with her, so to see someone treat her poorly would make me hate that person. Mm-hmm. And so in this situation, that would happen. But I'd also have a lot of fun with this person sometimes. Mm-hmm. So it could very much from one day go from being like, we have lots of fun together, to like wanting this person gone and not being okay with this person being like feeling safe and hating that person for.
So conflicting.
Yeah.
Wanting to probably love them, they're giving you things that you probably long for, and then not being able to trust it. I would imagine that would be really tough.
It was strange. I never felt like I never felt like I wanted that person to be my dad or anything. I mean, at that point, I already just had this fear instilled in me of it didn't, you know, I wasn't open to having some sort of loving relationship or a father figure or anything. You know, and he was also the person who I think we were relying on to have a roof over our head, you know. And when it wasn't going well, we didn't have a roof over our head anymore. So
that had
was
been
tough.
your experience, like losing out on a home.
Yeah, like I mean,
homeless.
when like I remember, like we had to, you know, I don't know, we would call it welfare. The welfare people would help us get a hotel room, so we had a roof over our head because we didn't have anywhere to go at times, or you know, like one time, and I don't know what the arrangement was. We ended up in a small trailer outside of town. I don't know how we ended up there, but we couldn't be at the house anymore, you know. So this was all because of conflict with this male influence in my life, who sometimes, like the one thing I keep thinking of when I'm telling you about this is, he bought me a 22, which is like a small rifle, and taught me how to shoot a gun once, and that's something that, I don't know why he bought it for me, and I don't know why he taught me how to shoot it, and we did that a lot for a little while, and I really loved that. I'd never done something like that, and it was kind of a guy thing, and I really liked it, and I was like, oh, that's so cool you did this. But then also everything else was a nightmare. So that was that.
So then, what happens next?
I remember graduating high school, and I didn't leave right away, but I remember when I just was so relieved when I found a way to leave that. And the problem was I didn't know. It seemed like school was the thing that, like, you graduate, now you get to leave home or whatever. That was just like how it was, I guess. But I didn't know how to survive. I didn't know how to get anything. I didn't know how to
Provide.
I certainly didn't know anything about going to college or how that worked. And I remember,
You were lacking a few life skills, weren't you?
yeah. I remember thinking I need money so that I can get out of here, like, because you have to pay people for rent and food and things, but I didn't. And the only way that I understood, and this is when I was like 18 years old.
Out on your own.
the only way I knew that people made money but was by working in a store. So I just was like, I have to figure out how to work in a store, like the bargain store or something. That's all I really fully understood on how to get money.
Go to a store.
Go work in a store.
Is that where you went, the bargain store?
No.
Smitty's.
No, at first Boston Pizza.
Okay, there you
Boston Pizza opened in town, and so they had, like, you could hand in an application and they gave me a job. So that was that. And I don't remember exactly how, but I got out. And I think at that stage, you know, your friends are moving out, so you can kind of split rent on a place. But I got out of that environment, and then, I just didn't know.
So you're
what was
still
next.
kind of without a clue. You're getting your first job, and you're starting to be able to provide for yourself after kind of years of a lot of chaos and uncertainty and just all of that. Now you're kind of on your own, and you're trying to make it in the world.
I don't even know that I was trying to make it. I was just glad to be out of the world that I hated being in for so long. I didn't know what I was doing. I remember at one point.
Did you just shed that skin completely and
No.
smooth sailing, or what?
No.
What tripped you up then to?
The funny thing about it was that as much as I hated the environment that I came from, it's the only one I knew and the only one I felt comfortable navigating. Mm-hmm. So when I stepped away from that and I tried to work in a store where normal people do normal things, I was like a fish out of water. Like
I can honestly imagine you. I can totally.
I should have went and worked at the bar is what I should have done, and I would have felt normal. I wouldn't have liked it, but it would have felt normal. But that's not where I wanted to be.
You started breaking those cycles kind of as soon as you could, not doing what was familiar to you.
Yeah.
Given your first opportunity to do something, and you did it.
I knew I had to do something that wasn't that, but I didn't know what to do. But I really knew, like, I knew that's not what I wanted. And that created a whole bunch more problems because I didn't know anything else.
Yeah, like what was the struggle, like the aftermath of that? How did that kind of show up in your life then when you're, you know, a little bit older and you're trying to sort it out?
I mean, I did okay, like getting jobs, and I was really fortunate. After Boston Pizza, I got fired from Boston Pizza. Me and my friends were in there one night, and someone stole like these decorative containers they have in there with like peppers in them, whatever. They're like, I don't know if Boston Pizza still has those. Me and my friends were in there one night. Someone stole those. I don't know who stole those. It wasn't me and it wasn't my friends. And I got called in the next day and I got asked to hand in my uniform, and they said, you know, you and your friends stole these things. You're not welcome here anymore. Get out. And I didn't even know what they were talking about. And it was kind of the first time I realized that people seen me in a certain way. Like, I think they thought we stole them just because we were probably the kids that were most likely to do something like that. And I'm not saying that it's not possible that it would have been us. That's something that we would have done. But that wasn't us. It wasn't us that did it in that circumstance. And I just remember thinking, that was a time when I realized people are aware of me and the world I'm from and the world I'm kind of still in. And they didn't bat an eye to just know it was me and my friends that stole.
They can see
and fired me from my job for it. And I remember that was horrible because getting that job was me trying to
break that.
Not need to steal things, you know? And that really kind of like set me back. So I just thought of that because I was thinking, how did I get on a better path? And so I think that somewhere in there led to me.
You tried and you just got beat down some more.
Well, it was such an eye-opener. Like, I'm trying to get away from this, and here I just got fired from this job, which is what I'm using to try to get away or try to do something different. And because of my position in that world, it was assumed that it was me, and now I've lost that. So I think somewhere in there that led to me getting another job at the time was a Domino's Pizza. I was in the pizza business. I was doing good. And I kind of just got hired on. It was a new business. They were just kind of loading up, and I really don't know how this came to be, but the business was owned by a family who owned some other businesses. And the matriarch, the mother that, was kind of the head of the whole thing, I to this day can't explain why she just wouldn't let me fail. And she would I'd work my shift at the pizza place, and she lived out of town, but she would come to town on the weekends, and she had a suite above it was a big building with a couple businesses in it, and that's where she would stay. And she would call me up there after my shift or whatever, and just explain life to me. And I don't know why she did it.
What would she say?
I think just what real life was, and she wouldn't let me use excuses about why I was going nowhere or why I was not worth anything or whatever, and she just wouldn't let me hide. And she her resilience to just keep pounding this stuff into my head. I'll never understand why she did it, but she taught me about living within your means and making smart choices and how to be more. She taught me the first things I knew about real estate. Sorry.
That's okay.
I just know that if that hadn't happened, I don't think I would have got anywhere. So it's something that I've been very grateful for. That was, I think I still would have been nowhere if I hadn't crossed paths with those people. And they did it for, I don't even know why they did that for me.
Do you see now why they did that for you? Or can you at least understand it a little bit better?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they just, I like to think maybe they seen that I would be receptive to it or that I needed a hand. And the lessons that they taught me about how to be okay involved helping people and being cooperative and being productive and with other people.
Geez, you really knew nothing back before them.
It's when you don't know that you don't know. You just
don't know.
You just don't know. But you see things going on around you and you don't understand how anything happens.
Yeah.
You don't understand how people have what they have or why they're happy or anything. You just don't know. So that was a very important experience and one that I'm always grateful for because I didn't deserve it, and I would have been nowhere. I would have gotten nowhere. So that helped. And then, I took what I'd learned and tried to take on adulthood. And
did it shift meeting those people Like, did it shift something that you knew it shifted when it was happening, or is it kind of more looking back, you realize what an impact it was for you?
Yeah, I don't think I knew how important it was when it was happening. What I do know is I started to look forward to her coming to town on the weekends, and like she'd talk to me for hours, and I just looked forward to it. But I don't know that I knew how helpful it would be in the end. Like, I remember fighting with her about it. Like, she'd say, "This is how it is." I said, "There's no way that's how it is. That's bullshit." You know, and it was in this dynamic where I was like working for one of her businesses, and I started to get skeptical. I'm like, "You're just trying to like talk me into doing more work for you for less money or whatever." And I remember her always saying, "If you ever want to get anywhere, you got to stop thinking like an employee." And I'm like, "I am an employee." And I just remember that specifically. And at the time, I didn't understand it, but she wouldn't let me not figure it out. But yeah, in hindsight, she gave me every tool I needed to, you know, I think in a non-traditional way, end up being okay and having the means to take care of myself. You know, it was no, you know, I didn't go to college or anything, but she taught me, like, I think just how the real world works and how money works and how business works. And that's all I had to work with, so I ran with it.
She gave you some tools.
Yeah. So that's I think saved me, and that's, I mean, it was a long path after that too, but those were the tools that I'm just still fortunate that I came across.
Was your mom in your life at that point as well? Is your
Not
mom in your
really.
life? I don't know.
No, like, I mean, when I left that household or that environment, I mean, I remember there were times where a year would pass and I didn't talk to her.
Yeah.
I never consciously put that much distance between us. I just did it. So she's always been, you know, we connect and we stay in touch often enough. Like, I guess I don't know often enough. Like, literally, there's still times where months go by and I don't know what she's doing.
The familiar.
Yeah. So, you know, she's been a presence in my life anyway. I think her and I know that her life is her life and my life is my life, and she doesn't. I think she knows that it's better to leave me to figure it out than for her to try to help me. And I think that too.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I want to spin around just to the mere fact that you are going to be a father soon.
Very soon.
The next time we speak on this podcast,
yeah,
you will have a child.
Yeah. That's crazy.
How does it feel to think about that right now?
I mean, I certainly know what I don't want to be like as a father, or as a you know an adult in a child's life. I feel good that I think that I can help, you know, my son get off to a better start, and I feel.
What advantage of your kind of past will it be for your son, would you say, and you as a father? Like, as dark and kind of chaotic as that was for you, and is, you know, what's the advantage point in that, and now getting to kind of recreate it? Like, what will you be able to offer that wasn't offered to you?
Yeah, it's just a funny thing to think about because I feel like, well, I'm going to be able to offer him lots of things, you know, let him be who he wants to be and let him try things he wants to try and be supportive and help him do those things. And to me, that's like this like phenomenal accomplishment, but also that's just normal. But for me, it's, I feel pretty good that I can do that for my kid.
Just show up,
Yeah.
not hide.
Yeah, and you know, hopefully he will be comfortable and hopefully he will be okay around men and hopefully he will feel safe with me as someone in his life that he can turn to and say things to and seek help from and I feel great that I can, like I feel like he'll be okay to have me be that person. And there's certainly, if he'd have come in other times in my life, it would be bad. He wouldn't have that. I don't know what it would be. So I'm grateful that he's coming now, and when I can be ready for that.
What beliefs did you have to like set down or overcome to be able to get to a place where you feel like you're able to provide these things for someone else, a child?
I mean, that's the biggest thing. I remember I used to jokingly say, people ask me, are you going to have kids or whatever, you know, the topic comes up. And I would jokingly say, or I would make it seem jokingly, but I was serious. I would say, I don't even know how to take care of myself. I'm a kid. And you know, laugh, but I was like literally, I don't even know how to take care of myself. And I talking about breaking the cycle and that early on, deciding that that's not. I thought I'm either going to end the cycle or break the cycle. And I was just so determined not to have to bring another generation in and have them have to go through the cycle again. So that was the thing, is getting to a spot where I could break the cycle confidently and have the means to do that. And, you know, both, I guess, you know, financially and you know, have a home and have a, it was very important to me, like if I was going to have a kid, I wanted the kid to have a great mother, and I think that's going to be the case. I know that's going to be the case. So all of that is those things needed to be into place, and I feel fortunate that it's worked out that way. For me and for him.
Yeah.
And for his mom.
You have created now this stability and this structure and this safe place to bring someone into the world, and you did what you said you wanted to. Well, I don't know that you said you wanted to. This has happened for you because of what you've chosen to do with like holding on to your heart and staying committed to kind of propelling forward and learning things. Like, I can't imagine what that was like, learning, you know, life skills that are probably late youth, like early adult, you know,
Yeah.
and just learning these basics. And when you say these things about people giving back to you and teaching you things, which, yeah, for the most of us, it probably sounds pretty normal, but for someone that has to grow up without all that.
It feels like I've succeeded my holding on to my heart. I feel like I held on to it long enough to come out on the other side, and that's a relief.
I'm so excited for you to be
Nice.
a father. Yeah,
Nice.
I'm so excited. I wonder what kind of practical tools that you use, if you have any, that, you know, like in a moment, maybe, or moments back then, when things were making sense and you didn't know where to turn or what to do, or you were feeling uncomfortable with men, or all of it, if there's something that kind of stands out that really helped you practically.
Like I just think of gaining confidence in just accepting who I am, realizing that whatever my thoughts are like about, you know, I guess being scared of men or feeling uncomfortable in that environment, like I've just become so much more okay with who I am and what I like, and being who I am in those environments. I mean, I have you know, lots of guy friends now, and I'm nothing like them, but I enjoy their company, and I, you know, when they're doing things that I don't connect with, like, you know, going to a Super Bowl party or something, it's okay that I don't care about that and that I don't go to it. Or maybe I will because there's food, but you know what I mean? I just know that it's fine to be me now, and if I start to feel like I'm going to hide,
Let me guess.
I remember that. So
You go to the grocery store and you stand in line in the aisles and do circles.
yeah,
You told me that one.
yeah. This is a tool I use.
This is it.
So I was thinking about this. You know, this desire to hide, I actually, like, I feel like I'll go to like department stores and like cruise the aisles, and like if there's a person in that aisle, I'll skip it and go down an empty aisle. And I honestly feel like it fulfills that kind of wanting to hide. And because, like, to me, it's easy to hide in public because no one approaches anyone else in public. You're all strangers. You just blend into the background of someone else's world. Mm-hmm. And I feel that way when I do those things, and it's kind of like a two-way thing because it gets me into the world without feeling overwhelmed by it. So it is a newer form of hiding, and I do that when I just want to kind of escape everything and, you know, stare at the different kinds of cereal, and nothing matters in that moment, and there's people around me which I like, but they're not focused on me. I don't have to interact with them. Like, work will be adding up, and maybe something's happening with family, or I've had an interaction with people that bring back memories or whatever. That's what I do, and it makes me feel better.
Well, there you go. I like it.
Yeah. So it's something you can try. You know,
Yeah.
just go creep around in
Any
public.
listeners?
You know? Yeah. And sometimes, like I'll have a day where how I explain it is I hit a wall. Like I just run out of that effort to, I don't know, stay afloat or whatever. And I've learned to recognize when I hit that wall and let myself just step back for the day. And I think that comes from self-awareness, like being aware when you're in that scenario, understanding that if you don't do something, it might make the situation worse, mm-hmm. meaning like, you know, want to run away again or give up or fade away.
Sometimes you just need a break.
Just let yourself take the weight off, mm-hmm. and don't beat yourself up about it, and know that you'll feel better.
Doesn't all have to get decided.
You just have to let yourself do it. So
yeah.
That's been a thing, is being self-aware and knowing when I hit that wall, and knowing that it's important to put myself first and address that so that I can get back to it.
That's definitely a good tip.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for coming on here. There's so much more we could say, I'm sure of it, and we're just kind of tight for time.
Yeah, no, that's enough for me for
That's
today
enough.
anyway. I mean, there's lots, but
We're gonna have you back on when your son is born.
Yeah.
And check in with you and see how that's kind of shaping up and how it feels. And really excited for you.
Yeah, thanks.
And excited you can make it. I was gonna ask you one last thing, I guess. If there was one question that you wish I asked that I didn't, do you have one?
I don't know a specific question, but something that I thought I might like to talk about is, it's easy to talk about my position and how things were perceived to me, but I've grown to understand that the other characters in my story have their own struggles too. Like, I don't feel like the other people are bad guys and that's why I have my struggles. They're living in their world and they have their own reasons for that. And, so I guess maybe, something to talk about one day is just understanding, like, you can blame everyone else if you want. It doesn't fix your problem. Those people have their own struggles too and live their lives because of, maybe that's what they want too. And that's, you might have an opinion if it's okay or not. You just learn that you just have to take control of your own life and put yourself where you want. So I guess that's it. It's just about the other people. It's important, I think, that people know that I don't blame them. I guess it's to some extent. I mean, most things were out of my control. They were the one kind of, but I don't think that anyone woke up in the morning and said, like, let's make it hard for this kid. I don't think that was so the other people.
Just kind of happens, and then it's your responsibility to seek out a better life, and
if that's what you want, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want.
And it's their choice to live the life they wanted to live too. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's been a whole nother thing to figure out in life, but.
Another time.
I appreciate you putting this together.
Thank you so much. Yeah. It's freaking awesome. I'm thrilled.
I think this is a good thing.
I think it's a good thing too.
And it's been an interesting experience to have a reason to sit down and talk about.
Yeah.
Shit.
It's an experience.
It is.
If it's anything, it's that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, grateful to have you here,
and
away we go.
Hey, I'm Morgan. I'm the producer of the Hold On to Your Heart Project podcast. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. If you'd like to find out more about what we're all about and check out other episodes, you can find us at holdontoyourheartproject.com or on YouTube and Instagram at Hold On to Your Heart Project. Thanks for stopping by.